All right, thanks everybody for coming out. Great evening of fights. I'm just going to talk through who's advancing to the next stage first. Flyweight division, the four competitors are Top Noi Kiram from Thailand, Hyun Sung Park from Korea, Cholun from China, Sunguk Choi from Korea. Bantamweight is Rinya Nakamura from Japan, Toshiomi Kazama from Japan, Shohei Nose from Japan, and Minwoo Kim from Korea. Featherweight, Jung-Yong Lee from Korea, Ija from China, Koyomi Matsushima from Japan, and Lukai from China. And then finally, in the lightweight division, Kyung-Pyo Kim from Korea, Won Bin Ki from Korea, Jekka Saragi from Indonesia, and Anshul Jubli from India. So that makes 6 from Korea, 4 from Japan, 3 from China, 1 from Indonesia, 1 from India, and 1 from Thailand. And with that, it's yours.
Well, first of all, congratulations on 2 back-to-back great nights of fights. I'm just curious how the reception was here in Asia to this. I know in America we didn't get as much of the marketing push, but here in Singapore we've seen this everywhere in the lead-up. So how has the reception been?
You know, the reception's been really great, and there's a couple of ways to measure that, of course. It was broadcast live around the region. We have 11 new broadcast partners in Southeast Asia, and then all of North Asia represented. This streamed live on Migu, as well as our partners out there on Weibo and Douyin. Douyin had 600,000 live views, and let me just check, 18 million related video views. So huge coverage, of course. Japan trending very well on Twitter. If you look at Instagram, you know, 4.7 million plays for the Kazama fight. Just to give you a couple, Indonesia was a really massive engagement on social as well, with a Jekka spinning back fist, 4.6 million views, and I think that number just continues to grow with likes and shares and whatnot. So, you know, all in all, a really successful evening. I think from a competitive standpoint, the fights were very entertaining. And, you know, being the first round, we have now, you know, it gets tighter and tighter. The competition gets, you know, better and better now. You know, we'll see what happens in the next round.
Was there any reason why Kazama has been performing, like, because you named him specifically, but there's three other Japanese in the semifinal too. Is there a specific reason that he performed so well?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the Kazama fight, I mean, it was just a really dominant performance, you know, and he has some background, of course. I actually thought the Matsushima fight was amazing as well. Like, that was a really high. That was the last fight of yesterday. Showed off his wrestling and just. I mean, I think all in all, Japan is very you know, excited to have 3 competitors in the bantamweight division, making their chances for a Japanese finalist even more so. So yeah, I mean, I think all in all, Road to UFC did very well in Japan, but that seemed to be the one that stuck out.
Is there any timetable for when the next round will take place?
Yeah, most likely in October of this year.
Will it be in Singapore again?
We're looking at some other locations right now. We haven't finalized, but we have a very good idea. Yeah.
And then, speaking of the fighters that actually took place, like, there was obviously some spectacular performances, but then you have a fighter like Top Noi, who's just a character out there, talking during the fight, like looking at the camera, and he was very engaging up here. So, just a wide variety of fighters, those characters and fighting. So do you believe we have any future stars here that we can build around you?
I certainly hope so. I think it's a little, you know, early to kind of get into who's going to be a future star in the UFC. They still have 2 more rounds to go. But you saw some great personalities out there, and you know, I think the fact that every country is represented in the next tournament will kind of give that local interest to be high for the entire region.
You know, you mentioned having those representatives of certain countries. Dana's always said India and places like this are untapped markets. How important is it to have people from those countries perform on a level like this with a production like this for those? You know, how important is it for those regions?
It's so important. You know, really what it is it's a very clear pathway right? A pathway that we haven't had in the past, and now, you know, every country in the entire region is very excited about their prospect in that. So, from anywhere from PR to social media to viewership numbers have all been outstanding for this, and it's very important to have that locally relevant fighter. So again, we're very pleased that there's a well-rounded base, of fighters advancing.
Do you think that's a fun area that this sport could potentially grow into, right? Like if each country has their own fighter that they can get behind for a while before it grows and grows. It's sort of giving it a soccer feel, you know, like we have our guy, you have your guy. And is that an area we can look to enjoy?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it's not right. It's not rocket science. When you have a locally relevant fighter, that's really going to increase engagement, interest, viewership, everything, every metric, and it's the Yao Ming effect in a sense. And that's why we've made the investments in the region to develop the talent. That's why we've developed this pathway so that these fighters have, you know, a real clear idea of how to get in and how to go. So yeah, it's of utmost importance for us.
Is there something that can be said as well that a tournament really offers that sort of unique aspect to fans, that they can sort of follow a fighter's pathway very easily, you know, that sort of linear travel?
Yeah, and if you look at kind of how the pathway is laid out, you know, it's the whole story can be told from being discovered to, you know, in some cases for, you know, the UFC Academy, for instance, being recruited in there, going through the combine, getting selected for the academy, going through that journey, entering the tournament, and then finally, you know, being awarded the contract at least a 3-fight win streak. Actually, most of these guys are coming in with win streaks as well, extending that win streak, having the confidence of outperforming all of the other fighters in the region. It's a really nice path to go, and that's why we've called it the road to the UFC.
Last one for me. Do you have to ask Top Noi to stop smoking before his fights?
I didn't see that, so.
We got a picture.
Yeah, just one question from us.
Yeah.
Did any of the Korean fighters catch your attention or exceed your expectations?
All of them. I mean, there was one Korean fighter who went on to the next round because his opponent had to pull for illness. But I mean, they just, you know, Korea has traditionally been, you know, some of the best MMA talent, I think, globally, and you see that with, you know, the success of Korean Zombie and some of the other Korean fighters that we have, and so yeah, and Korean Zombie, he was really a part of this show as well in a big way, and I thought you could really see him coaching his guys. They did so well, so you know, yeah, I mean, I think all of them really caught my eye at least.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you think that UFC is finally looking at India as a viable market, considering it's a huge population, untapped, for UFC?
It's huge, and I think what we've done successfully over the past couple of years is build that digital presence. You have a lot of influencers and celebrities really talking about the UFC. The buzz is created now. We have, Indian fighters in there. So I think the next step is really, look towards a potential event out there in the future, and just capitalize on the overwhelming interest that we have right now.
Kevin?
Yes.
Here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So if, flyweight fighter will be withdraw in the semi-final, and it is a possibility Takeru Uchida will be stepping up instead of the fighter?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. That was a very impressive fight as well, I thought. Very unassuming look. He came in there against a veteran from Australia, which is definitely a hotbed of MMA talent and a proving ground in itself. And he was impressive. His wrestling, and of course getting the finish in that way. So yeah, the answer is yes. I think there's definitely a possibility. Well, hopefully it doesn't come down to that. But at the end of the day, when you look at the non-tournament fights that happened on these cards, they were amazing as well. In fact, I mean, I'll point out Jang Ming, which, he came in here. We didn't have it wasn't a tournament for his weight class, but he came in here and fought a really tough guy, and had that amazing finish that went viral. I mean, it was 13 million views in China. So really a lot of interest and attention. And he was ultimately, Mick was so impressed that he said, let's give this guy a contract. So this has become a platform for that as well, even for the non-tournament guys. So same with Uchida. I think his skills were certainly noticed, in his performance out here. And yeah, I mean, if it comes down to that, maybe so.
Thank you.
Just following up on Chang there, how long was it between the time of his fight that you guys informed him he was getting a UFC contract? Because it was, before we were out of here. And
I mean, a matter of hours. It was really, and that's the performance that you saw as well, right? I mean, it was a competitive fight for until the finish, and yeah, it was right away. It was right away.
Yeah, and as we look ahead to Sunday morning, can you just talk about the significance of this event to this market, bringing a pay-per-view here, 2 championship fights? Just give us a little preview from your side.
Yeah, a really big milestone for us. This is only the second event that we've done outside of the U.S. and of course Abu Dhabi with Fight Island, and the first pay-per-view. And Singapore has, it's great to do events here. It's smooth from an operational point of view. We have huge support from, Singapore Tourism Board. Great sponsor interest. AirAsia Super App is our presenting title sponsor out here. So there's a lot, to say about Singapore. But the most important thing is the fan base. I mean, they're going to come out on Sunday morning to watch this historic event, and I'm just looking at the card right now. I'm excited for all of the fights, really.
And I know there's a million things that go into scheduling and planning and stuff, but in your perfect world, if you could pick an event to happen anywhere in Asia, COVID restrictions, all that stuff aside, where would you want to see the UFC host a fight card?
We have plans to go all over. It really does depend on how the situation continues to develop. But we have our sights on going back to China at some point. Right now it's not possible, but China, of course, Japan in the future, Korea. Going back to Korea and Seoul in particular would be fantastic. And then also these other countries, including India, Thailand, coming back to Singapore, of course, just understanding how big the reception has been out here. So really, the entire region. It's hard to pinpoint one country that we want to go to more than another. But, as things start to open up, you'll certainly see us being very active out here.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Okay, Mr. Kevin.
Yeah, hey.
Through this fight, the UFC has given a great hope for the fighter, especially in Asia, to get a UFC contract.
Yeah.
So what is your next project for the road to UFC?
The next...
Yes, the next project for the future?
Oh, we hope that this becomes a very regular and consistent thing, right? Again, it lays out a really clear pathway, and it's something that we can build into the schedule that flows very well. So it is something that we'd like to continue to do.
Okay, the second is, what do you think about JK Saragi give a big impact to the UFC social media with Indonesian fans? Any comment?
And that's on global. I mean, Instagram. It's all over in Indonesia. I think what it speaks to is the fan base out there. Right? Is that one performance it captured the interest of the entire nation? It really just spread so far and wide in such a short amount of time, and that's exciting because we will continue to look at Indonesia and the fighters from that region, especially for tournaments like this in the future, and it's very promising.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
One more follow-up
sure.
right here. You said that the timetable you're looking at is October for the next round, correct?
Yeah.
Would you hold that before a pay-per-view again, or would it be its own standalone event, maybe?
Depends. Okay. It depends on a bunch of factors.
So it could possibly be before an Abu Dhabi pay-per-view?
Could possibly. Okay. It could possibly, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great, thanks.